This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Regina Smith is advocating for new legislation and penalties for persons who cause vehicular homicides.
Smith lost her father a little less than a year ago to what she calls a senseless accident on the airport road.
Well, now as the leader of a support group for victims of vehicular homicide, she's seeking public support to petition the Attorney General to revisit this law.
And so far, they have almost 400 signatures.
My father was killed in a traffic fatality over the Christmas break on December 19th to be exact, traveling on this road here, on the airport road a little further down, and he died upon arrival at Princess Margaret Hospital. And the events that followed really inspired the petition itself. As of April 4th, the young lady that was involved in the accident went to court, and before the magistrate, they ruled that she should just pay a approximately $6,000 fine, and that was it.
After realizing that for some incidents, such as vehicular accidents, that there is only a fine, Smith began mounting a campaign.
It just really felt like justice had not been served. It really felt like the punishment did not meet the crime, and so I knew I had to do something. Not revenge, not a lawsuit, nothing against the girl. We forgive her. We've moved on past that point, but it's now, we're coming from an altruistic point of view of, now this has happened to us, how can we use this to help other families, because it's not right. If anybody is interested, and we're asking the public to visit www.change.org, and you'll type in the search bar, you're going to type in Petition Attorney General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
In other news tonight, the president of the Industrial Tribunal recently ruled in a matter involving the Central Bank of the Bahamas that 1 work week equals 7 days and not 5 days as commonly practiced here in the Bahamas, meaning one would have 2 days added to every week of their vacation. While weighing in on the matter, Minister of Labor Shane Gibson said it may be too early to say what impact this can have on the workforce. But after the appeal process of this case, he says amendments to the current labor laws may become effective.
Depending on what happens at the end of the day with the appeals process, we would have to make a decision as to whether or not amendments to the law is necessary to specify days rather than weeks. I know some industrial agreements, it is spelled out where you're entitled to X amount of days after the first year, after X amount of years. It is actually spelled out in days rather than weeks. And in the law, I think it's spelled out in actual weeks rather than days. And so if it means bringing clarity and amending the laws, then we may have to look at that.
Vice President of the Senate, the Honorable Joseph Curry, telling the Rotary Club of Nassau today that the Senate must become more independent. Senator Curry believes that moving into the future, senators must represent a wider grouping of the country and that the Senate must adjust to meet the needs of the Bahamian public. During the meeting at Luciano's, Senator Curry also told Rotarians that the future trends must show greater participation in democracy throughout the country.
The Bahamas will be defined by its composition, and when I indicate its composition, a greater independence of its members or its membership, I believe will lead to a greater openness in debate within the Senate and in the country at large. An independent voice for civil society and vested groups representing broad-based membership and protecting the rights and expressing the views of those who put them there to represent their specific interests. It may sound radical or different from what we have today, but in my view, it lends itself to a greater balance in governance.
The Council for Legal Education wrapped up its 40th session last week here in the capital, and one of the issues discussed focused on funding for the continuation of students accessing legal education in the region. The Council governs the established law school in the Commonwealth Caribbean, including of the Hugh Wooding Law School in Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica's the Norman Manley Law School, and the Eugene DePuche Law School here in Nassau. Minister of State for Legal Affairs, the Honorable Damian Gomez, told our news team that the discussions during the meeting took the position that outstanding funds need to be paid by contributing territories.
We took, for the first time, decisions which reluctantly we had to take, but in the past we've not done so, and we're requiring everyone who has arrears over 12 months old to pay up all of the arrears in accordance with the treaty, and we are hopeful that in getting our financial situation under control, that the public will see the benefits of it in terms of the orderly delivery of legal education in the region.
Now, Minister Gomez didn't disclose any figures in terms of the arrears owed, but he explained that each territory has a financial commitment to legal education for students, and in cases where that does not happen, students pay their own economic costs. In addition, he said there is also a cost for teaching in the event a particular government does not meet its economic cost obligation.
There are a number of countries that have deliberately taken the decision not to go the route of paying the economic costs. Guyana is one of them. We, on the other hand, pay the economic costs for our students, and Barbados and some other countries like us do the same thing. So it's a mixture, but at the end of the day, the arrears have to be made good, and that's essential to a sustainable system.
The Bahamas Girl Guides has launched its official fundraising drive for the year. Guides unveiled a sign displaying the goal for the drive and where it stands currently. Over the last 25 years, the group has raised $500,000 towards its goal of $1.2 million for a new headquarters at its Fort Charlotte location through donations and from the Luncheon Committee. The push now is to raise more money to break ground on a new facility.
Corporate Bahamas, law firms, real estate companies, hotels, building firms, everybody. We are asking their participation. We now have 500,000, and we have been assured by our architect, Mr. Alvin Roll, if we can get another 200,000, we'd be able to demolish this building to my right and begin the construction so that over the period we can raise the remainder.
Could you imagine what it means to us to have our real headquarters one of these days whilst we're still alive? Miss Davis, Miss Granger, Betty Cole, and the rest of us, Beryl, we all want to see that day.
Through these values of good character and their reinforcement by example, the Girl Guides Association has served as a timeless bridge between the values of yesteryear and the shaping of leaders of today and tomorrow.
Well, there are approximately 2,190 Girl Guides and 131 leaders throughout the country. Coming up in sports, we've got highlights from the Bahamas Governmental Departmental Basketball Association.
And later in Family Island news, how the boom on Bimini is having unintended consequences. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain. By year's end, BTC hopes to have its 4G network upgraded to facilitate long-term generation or LTE. The move should generate high-speed data on mobile phones and data terminals. Senior Vice President of Brands and Communications Marlon Johnson said this upgrade is in keeping with BTC's goal of remaining the leader in the Bahamas' telecommunications market by creating a world-class experience. He said LTE means that everything on mobile devices will be much faster due to more sophisticated applications. Data downloads and video streaming would also be noticeably faster. The Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association announced that its Executive Vice President Frank Camito will be stepping down with effect from January 30th, 2014. Mr. Camito plans to pursue other opportunities. He has served as the Executive Vice President for the past 10 years. President Stuart Bowe said the BHTA is appreciative of the years of service which Mr. Camito has provided to the organization. Bowe said the BHTA has formed a search committee to seek to fill the vacancy in the coming months to allow for a smooth transition. And Apple unveiled newer versions of its iPhone 5, the iPhone 5C, and the iPhone 5S. The New York Times is reporting that Apple's iPhone 5S has a faster processor than the iPhone 5, which was originally released in September 2012. It also expects to unveil the iPhone 5C, a less expensive version than the iPhone 5. The iPhone 5C is expected to be aimed at developing countries to allow Apple to build a new consumer base among low-income customers who cannot easily afford new models of the iPhone. The new 5S has been tipped to come in a variety of colors, feature fingerprint scanning technology, and Apple's new iOS 7 operating system. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain.